woods.
Did you get my hair though? Is my hair in there?
Your hair is totally in frame, eh?
Hi, welcome. This is a little bit impromptu. It's a little bit of a different setup, but we are here for it. I don't know about you guys, but I feel very relaxed and ready to have some real life conversation.
So relaxed, especially with you ladies. Y'all, some of my favorite people out here. Probably top 5 for sure. And the others, it's not all.
Just because you gotta say that so they don't get their feelings hurt.
It's true. No, you know I'm straight.
Oh my gosh. Listen, we have like a super special show today. And as our 5th show, it's very interesting. Oh man, here we go. 5, the number of creation. Things are born at 5, right? You're no longer in a space where, I think this is how it kind of runs. With 4, you have those 4 like legs that create the table. But 5, once the table is created, it's kind of like the tabletop. And so it's that 5th piece that you can branch off into all kinds of creation.
That's nice.
You can do all kind of different things with that 5th leg, tabletop, whatever you want to do with it. It can be whatever you want it to be. So having this be the 5th episode and where it is that we are kind of going with the things that we are individually creating, the things that we're co-creating, the things that we're collaborating on, it feels really, really apropos, just like everything else out here that has happened. It's just so appropriate. So forgive my long-windedness, but I think it's, again, appropriate because we have with us today our very good friend and sister in spiritual things that don't necessarily look like spiritual things, but are deeply spiritual.
Fish.
She's real good. She's real good at this. This is Sonia K. And Sonia is the creator of the Monarch. I almost said the Mindful Misfits because you are just such a part of what it is that we're doing.
I'm like creating back here. I'm like supporting. Like
I mean, we're gonna get into that whole piece about what I learned. We just came upstairs from our first and inaugural WEA talk. Hold on, everybody, take a deep breath. Listen. You said what, and then we didn't do it. Come on now, set it up, knock it down. What you got?
Let's take a deep breath.
Okay.
Everybody. Just right now together.
Okay.
Inhale. Exhale. Let's do one more round. Inhale. Exhale.
I needed to do that real bad. Because I'm about to run off, like my brain, like as soon as it was like, okay, let's do this,
and before you do,
I know.
This is Sonia of the Monarch Sanctuary Project.
Yes. And the reason that, okay.
Happy to be here with the Mindful Misfits.
On the Mindful Misfit podcast.
As a fellow and supporter.
Indeed.
This is the thing about this group of people, these women. You just lay it out. And it's to be played out, and then you throw the ball, and somebody else catches it and runs with that motherfucker. And it's awesome.
Right. Put a card down, she picks it up. We're like, what you got?
Yep. I mean, I feel like that's definitely a really good segue into what we just finished doing. We're tired, first of all.
Best way tired. Yeah. Like in the best way.
In the tired, spent.
So spent.
Yes.
So spent.
Yes. Meaning, why is being spent? What's the difference? Tell me what the difference is between being spent and being tired.
It's like a day of hard work. Like you put a day of good, hard work that you can lay your head down at the end of the day. You're proud of what you put out in the world.
Yes.
Versus the grind that you're just like cranking and working and you feel like the whip is on you versus you're holding the reins.
Making these choices out here and then having gratitude about all of them, every step of the way, and the way that things just kind of play out. So this is what we had did. We were downstairs and we just finished producing our first WEA Talk. WEA Talk is, you guys have seen it on social, you follow us on social, you've seen it on the website. WEA Talk is wellness, energy, alchemy. And sure, you could probably say that it is probably the world. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like, I do think that there are very valid things that happen with TED Talks. I do, but I feel like this is a new Earth TED Talk. Like, that's what we're producing here with new Earth leaders, thought leaders. I mean, you said it, right? Voices from the collective. Right? New Earth thought leaders presenting their ideas in a collaborative environment.
Specifically for our local environment, for our local communities.
That's
For
right.
people who are not only hearing the ideas, but they're hearing them, they're internalizing them, and they have an opportunity right here, very locally, very immediately to act.
Because this is going to be a whole thing.
Act on those ideas.
Act on those ideas, not just sit back. But you did, yes, that. I mean, so many legs to this whole thing. So earlier you said, we went downstairs. We just finished producing the first WEA Talk. The WEA Talk was presented. We presented Sonia Koschoreck and why do I always have such a hard time with it?
It's like me the first few times I was trying to say the Spiritualish collective, and I was like, and I couldn't, right? It's like, here's what it is. It's just like everything else in life, Adrienne. It is about carving out new pathways. So your mouth is not used to saying those words in that order. But I promise you, from personal experience, from saying them many times, eventually, the Monarch Sanctuary Project.
Oh, there you
So
go.
that the Monarch Sanctuary Project here with the Mindful Misfits podcast.
That's right. And what's really interesting also about that is I'm working on that with it because it matters to me. It matters to be able to share that in a way that is well received by people who are viewing and watching and listening to what it is that we do, what it is that I do. And so in trying to build that new pathway, I have burned into my brain your name from when I built the button on the website. That's what I picture. And I read it in my mind's eye when I'm getting ready to say it. So I'm working on it. It's happening.
And I think part of it too is knowing the subject matter enough that you're like, you see in your brain the pictures of what the words are, and it's a story in your head, so you don't have to think about the order of the words because it's already the story.
Right.
When you don't know the story very well yet, the words are hard to put in the right order sometimes.
Right.
I feel that way very much right now I'm currently an enthusiast in the things that I'm learning. The people that I'm learning from are experts. And when they talk, my brain is like, so much information. I don't know what that word means. I don't know what that means. And so I try to repeat it, and it doesn't come out as fluidly from my face as it does from their face. And that's because I'm still learning. My brain is still learning those trails. It's still understanding the trail, the foliage. It's still understanding how to define all of those words and all those things.
I have a question, and I'm going to roll it back to something for just a second. And so the basis of the Mindful Misfit podcast, when it is beyond just the three of us, is getting to know and understand the being of a person as opposed to what it is that you're doing. So the doing is like what kind of gets you here, but the being through the doing is the thing that creates the conversation, right? And where that comes from. And so I'm gonna, I think, challenge you a little bit, because it's just like
it's
part
what you
of
do.
the thing, right?
Yeah.
I want to roll it back to when you said that you were an enthusiast. And I only say that because does being an enthusiast of something have anything to do with the longevity in which a person has been doing a thing?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No. I say enthusiast with that weight of the word because in a lot of the expert pollinator forum, monarch conservation forums that I follow, there are experts going back and forth about all of this research that is currently happening. And when something gets brought to the table that is presented from someone that is not an expert with a degree in entomology or this and that, the initial seems like attack is, oh, well, they're not an expert. They're only an enthusiast.
Right. Enthusiast to me says that, well, how I would classify somebody who is involved in, and we're going to talk directly about what it is that you are doing, because it is a part of the thing. It's a major part of the thing. But I want to, so when I hear that, what I, as your friend and sister and person who is who is partaking in these things with you, the last thing I want you to do is discount any of the work that you're doing, because you haven't been in it as long as these people who are sharing this information in this way. And I think it has to do with the heart investment in a thing.
I was going to ask, with that being said, how do you work through that whenever you feel like, and what makes sense to me to feel almost like sort of attacked, like you said, when someone's like, well, you're not, like, kind of dismissed is what it is. Like, you're dismissed in that moment. What'd you do from there?
So I guess when I hear that, because of where I come from my performance art background, and I come to all of this new information, the last thing I want is for my enthusiasm and my passion to be confused for
expansive knowledge.
Right. And I want to be clear with the people I'm communicating with, what the level of my expertise is. But I think there's something to that. I think maybe instead of just enthusiast, I am just an enthusiast. I am a master naturalist who is learning. I'm currently very enthused about what I'm learning. Oh, I like that. That's got a different spin.
It's got a lot of passion behind it too.
I take what I learn seriously. You're right. I am someone
I like to hear that sometimes.
It's most of the time. I am someone who is very enthused on the path to expertise. But even that expertise is sort of like mysterious in and of itself, because information is always changing. And
you said yourself today, something fascinating about the butterflies, about the monarch in particular, and I think it was brain, had something to do with the brain and not understanding how. We don't know how they migrate. We don't know why. We don't know a lot of the science behind that. I think that in itself puts everybody on equal playing field.
That's, you know what? That's true. That's
in
true.
some regards. In regards to, yes, there's some information that is verifiable that you probably just have not encountered yet, right? But there's a whole lot of things that a whole lot of people out here know about, and then there's a whole other section of things that people know nothing about.
You're right. So I guess there's this middle territory, not enthusiast, not expert, but somewhere in between, a mediator, an interpreter, if you will, of nature.
A bridge.
A bridge. It's a bridge. That's right. That's right.
It's what we out here doing, though.
Yes. Yeah. And many months ago, I was learning all these things. I don't know the Latin names. People aren't going to take me seriously. I don't know all the details about this. And you just laughed at me. You just laughed at me, and you were like, it doesn't matter. You don't need to. But my learning brain didn't understand that, because I was comparing myself to all of these scientists. But the truth is, when I talk to most anyone who is not a master naturalist or a scientist of some kind studying butterflies, they don't know anything. They know very, very basic things. And that, yes, okay.
And that's not to take away from the merit of, being a scholar and in the ways of the butterfly, in the ways that many of the people that you've spoken about are, because there is a lot to be learned about the world around us, about the natural world, but also, and we are making way and very clearly having to create our own pathways for this, making a way for new information to come through. Yeah. And I think it's vitally important that we not rely on the ways of the past. And you can use a lot of the information of the past as a foundation, but I think moving forward, we have to really, this is just in my IMO, okay? Moving forward, it's very, very important that we bring the new information in, and we do so bravely and boldly and courageously.
Challenge accepted.
We need to get counted.
For sure.
I love
that
it.
this morning.
I love it when you guys pose awkward and challenging questions to me, because those questions are usually juicy and there's good information to sift through in there.
Look at though.
Look
it. Can you, because we have just rattled off so much without even giving any like real foundation, and we believe in that, right? The grounded spiritualish. Although I don't think anybody's feet are on the ground right now.
It was amazing. That's why I had such a great time. And also, I hear like the bass of music, and I can't stop moving. Just, like, and being with you guys just in general.
It's definitely super floaty, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
What did we do? What did we do today?
So foundation, right? So what we did today was, again, shot our first production recording of our We Talk, and Sonia was the presenter, and Sonia is the creator and founder of the Monarch Sanctuary Project.
Nailed it.
Listen, not out here losing. Not out here trying to
You
lose.
just gotta practice. That's that path to mastery. Is you fuck it up so many times. That's how you master something.
That's it.
Don't
That's
get it twisted out there, y'all. It's a bunch of mistakes.
And then you got to take
Just
notes.
lead up to
Real
ultimate
life.
change,
Real
hopefully
life.
for the best of
Yeah.
us. Anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't mean the best of us. I'm a little tired.
Grounded in foundation. That's what we did today.
That part.
Yeah.
Tell me about why any of that is important in about, you ready?
Yeah.
In about 30 words.
Why that
Mm-hmm.
was important?
She points downstairs because we're in the
Because that's where
treehouse
we
now.
were. We're in
Yep.
the treehouse.
We were in the wolf den here at Squatch.
As you can
Okay,
see, she
move on.
points off screen over there where you,
Right.
it's over there
Right.
and like down there.
Like down there.
It's fine.
And now we're
in the treehouse.
here.
We're in the treehouse. And we're always up here. This is what
And we live up here. She's gonna keep
Love y'all.
so much.
I got my
work
yeah.
cut.
Yeah, you do.
Let's see. What was it about? Downstairs, where we were, was important today because it may or may not be 30 words.
It's
but I'm
fine.
it's
You can do you.
I got
Sonia.
this.
Do you?
I got
we
this.
know it. We know it. Yay.
The talk downstairs was very important because it was an opportunity for me to share not only the importance of monarch biology, saving the monarch migration, the monarch butterfly, and all of its awesomeness, but it is also so important, I think, to connect the human experience with nature.
Big time.
I know.
That's
30
it.
words,
Yeah,
man.
you're
30
like, but I have to
words.
go
Well, we're gonna spend the next
Yeah.
45 like really dissecting what that really means and where that comes from.
Monarch conservation meets the human experience.
Mhm.
That's why that talk was so important.
Yeah, there's so
It
many
was
comparisons.
extending the olive branch, the connecting rod, I don't know, it's extending, hey, community, let's talk about this. And
Yeah.
let's not just like, hey, plant these things, plant this, do that, but also remember you are a human and you are like this monarch butterfly and we can do something about it.
There are a lot of similarities between what you described, their behavior is, and how we move through life as well. Not to mention they're so beautiful.
So beautiful.
And you bridge the gap between, I mentioned it to you earlier, just like bridging the gap between like two different types of individuals who may be interested in learning more about how to help in the environment. What can, really impact.
It matters a lot being able to share that information in a way that's engaging and being able to share it in a way that is accessible to people,
That's
because a
hugely
lot of it could be one of the reasons that it has gone probably very realistically in the way that it has gone to the wayside is because there hasn't been that anybody to be able to connect those experts to people who are out there actually doing it out in the field.
Right. Right. It's incredible to me that the monarch butterfly, which I think is so well known, not everyone knows what it even looks like, or that it is our state insect of Texas, or that it has the capacity to go through all of these incredible transformation, or that it even has a migration that is this epic and wondrous, that is under severe threat that we don't understand. People just don't even know necessarily. So finding a way to share all that information with some funk and pizzazz and a ton of passion.
So much
It was
pizzazz.
really great.
That
It
is-
was a whole
yeah.
show, a terrific show that I watched, and I learned all
Such
kinds
a
of
great
things.
presenter.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, so that brings, yes, well done, Shane. Where did when you think back to little Sonia, and then you're having your moment tonight talking about, or this afternoon talking about monarchs, and recalling, that small person who had her first monarch experience to this person who has essentially at this point dedicated their life to the preservation of something that had such a big impact on you.
Mm.
How does one get from there to here? Like, where did all that begin?
My appreciation for the monarchs. It's really kind of a blip. It's a blip plus a dream-like experience. So I say I'm going to tell you how I connected with the monarchs initially and what that was, but it only means as much as it does right now because of what I know now and where I am in my life right now. So little Sonia, the blip, was the exposure. It was a 1976 National Geographic magazine cover that my parents kept on an old bookshelf, and that was the introduction, and it was falling in love with the cover and this woman covered in butterflies, and the image of that, and imagining my small self like her. What would that be like? Who does that? Who does those things? Who is this woman? People can do this? Where is this? And then seeing the monarch migrations on a hike with my mom in 1994, and seeing huge clouds of all these monarchs over a field of yellow flowers.
How old were you then?
It was 1994, so 1994 minus 81.
You were like maybe
4 plus
10?
10, 11. Math. Yeah, young.
Yeah.
And I said downstairs, but really my entire adult life, I thought that memory was a dream. It didn't seem real to see that many monarch butterflies in one place, to see any butterfly in that mass, a cloud of them. And that was the highest monarch population year ever recorded, and it isn't that way anymore. Now the monarch migration, we see like 2 or 3 coming through maybe per day. Woo, we saw them.
Did that dwindle?
Yes.
94, 95, it started tapering off, or was there something that hit really hard?
Let me tell you, no, yeah, it was actually the soy and corn boom production that happened in the 90s.
Imagine
In the
that.
90s, and it's amazing.
Surprised.
One of them, I can't remember which it was, soy or corn, that started first.
I have a whole theory about corn, by the way.
Well, so the milkweed used to grow between the rows of all the corn in the fields. And in the 90s, I can't remember the name of the chemical, but they discovered a chemical, that an herbicide, I think glyco something. And so
Roundup,
that
basically?
is essentially,
I think
yeah,
that's the
that
main-
kills everything but the corn.
Yeah, Monsanto does a good job of that.
And so they started the widespread use of that herbicide, and then they saw the numbers starting to decline gradually, and then they added the other agricultural crop, corn or soy, whatever it was, and the numbers continued to severely decline, and they've just been on the decline since then. I mean, we know one of the big problems.
Is there anybody out there that's targeting that and reversing?
Not enough
that?
people. Yeah, not enough people. But I think a lot of it is changing the way that farmers think about their agricultural land, and do they need to spray those? There's such a big movement right now for organic, sustainable, regenerative farming where you don't have to use any of those chemicals.
I know,
Because
and I
it's
wonder
balanced,
how
right?
many of
Exactly.
them are educated in that.
It is such a small number of farmers.
I feel like it is too.
And I said
Which is fascinating.
today that is something that I am interested in pursuing my education is because if we need to make big changes in order to see a change in those monarch migration numbers, we need not only small community gardens, neighborhood gardens, but we need large scale, because those butterflies are flying through Iowa, Kansas, massive stretches of land that is nothing but cornfields.
There's nothing to eat.
I was just thinking,
who wants to take a road trip with no food?
Right? Remember when the pandemic?
And
You had to go to the grocery store when the pandemic hit, and a couple of the aisles were empty with like bread and beans or whatever it is that you wanted, and you started freaking out because those aisles were empty, but really, realistically, there was still a whole grocery store of food that you could eat. Imagine if that grocery store were completely empty, because that's the only thing you can eat. Monarch butterflies, their caterpillars can only eat milkweed. They can't like pick and choose through the grocery store.
Horrible. That's horrific.
Or like your great grandma knew that HEB was there last year that had all that milkweed, and it's just not there anymore.
She's sitting there, and it's not even there.
Not even there anymore.
Dang it. So this is what I want to know too. Like when you I want to roll it back just a little bit about like how does, again, we're going to come back to this because I know it matters a lot. How does a person go from somebody who thinks that monarchs in a field that they are experiencing is a dream, and we're going to have to share this off mic about what I know that is about. But how does that person go from thinking that is a dream to sitting here talking about that right now? Like something about that was very impactful to you, right? So we're back and you are pre-adolescent, moving into teenage years, seeing these butterflies with your mother, thinking it's a dream for many, many years. And then take me to the point where you realize that wasn't a dream. That was a real thing that happened, and it mattered to you.
Very recently, 9 months ago, I started learning, after I got my Texas Master Naturalist certification, I started learning more about monarch biology, monarch conservation, and these images started coming back because I, like so many people, forgot what the monarch looked like or what it was. I mean, I knew but I didn't know anything about it. Like even that dream was just a dream, you know? I took these lectures on monarch conservation. I think it was the moment I found my eggs. I think it was the moment I found the eggs on a plant that I planted in my yard in the idea of butterflies coming to see me. But even then, I wasn't excited about monarchs coming to find me. It wasn't until they were there and they were real and they were tangible that it was real again. And I said it downstairs, but they found me. I didn't find them. They found me twice in my life. And it's not a coincidence that my priorities in my life were in check when I was young and youthful at that time, as far as what happiness means, what peace is, what my connection to the dirt church is. Ecotherapy, like for me at that young age, I didn't have to ask those questions. I already knew. And I forgot somewhere along the way. 15 to 20 years, cauldron of chaos, I forgot in there.
Shoot.
And so very recently, when I found those eggs, they found me. I remembered.
That's when it solidified that it was not a dream, and that it was actually a memory.
Well, in that initial, in an initial monarch conservation lecture that I attended 9 months ago.
That's good. Keep going.
Yeah. The information kind of washed over me, and I heard 1994. I heard highest population year. I thought monarch butterflies, Austin, Central Texas, were on the flyway. They come through here. I remember, Mom. I called my mom. Hey, Mom, do you remember that thing? And what a joy to share that memory with her, because she had forgotten. And she said, no, that really did happen. And she confirmed that it was probably the spring of 1994. And then I tracked the numbers and I looked at the data, And I realized, oh my goodness, what a gift.
You saw, you were there, present for that
Okay,
thing.
so then I made that good. What a gift. I saw that. It's not a coincidence that I saw that. That's it.
That's not it.
Well, it's not. No, it's not at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, and so like, how did you get there? What is the story? I don't know. They're like
Right.
these little like
Breadcrumbs.
bread
pieces.
ties that bind. You know, the like little like energetic threads.
Do you feel like you can see that path back? Like if you were to turn around and look, you're like, oh, that's why.
I can see that now. I can say that with a sense of peace and confidence that because what I thought in the cauldron of chaos of 15 to 20 years of my life, poor decisions, what I thought was chaos and poor decisions maybe wasn't that. Maybe they were just very strange ingredients to work with in this cauldron that I was trying to make the flavor profile work for me in my life, and it just wasn't. I didn't have all of the ingredients that I needed to put in that stew of my life, and it's like I threw all the wrong ingredients in, and I was expecting one of my favorite soups, and I had all of my least favorite.
This'll get it.
Yeah, this is it.
I
Well,
got
you
it.
know what? I see that, but like the monarch caterpillar sheds its skin 4 times. Those are called instars. I like to think of that like they're wandering through life, and it's like us in that 20s time period of our life where we're like, this is me now, and I'm gonna wear this hat, and I'm gonna be a banker, and I'm only gonna eat tangerines and granola bars now, and that's me. And we're like, we find these ways of like trying to rationalize or identify ourselves or put this costume on, this idea of who we are, who we think we should be. Maybe that's just not who we were, because who we really are was inside the whole time, and we were looking for those questions and that validation on an exterior from other people and other places. What
and why?
What and why? They don't have it.
No.
You can't live my life for me.
Show
The monarch butterfly does not give a what other people think about its metamorphosis.
As such as the animal kingdom
Right.
itself.
It's just doing.
We're the only ones who care what anybody else thinks
That's
about
so
what we're
messed
doing.
up.
It is messed up.
Be nice for what?
Nice for what?
Nice for what?
I have this a whole newfound respect for that saying now. I've just been walking around singing like, nice for what?
Don't get it twisted.
Don't
Nice for what?
No, I don't understand it anymore. Yes, I can be kind, but at the expense of myself? Why? Doesn't make any sense. Sounds like we're really getting rid of some real programming right now and really cycling through. And I loved what you had to say about, the spirals, your spiraling tattoos, and the spirals of life, for sure. Because we do have to, sometimes we gotta touch back on that shit.
That labyrinth, the concept of the labyrinth, of walking the internal path, quietly asking the questions and being okay with not having the answers. And then you turn that biz around and you start the reverse on the outward spiral, and all of a sudden things look a little bit different.
Perspective.
It's
everything.
This spiral tattoo on my shoulder, it's got like Tim Burton-y lines. They're not perfect.
Accurate.
They're not straight. Sometimes the lines touch in the middle, which drives some people so crazy.
They're like, I can't handle it.
It's like they messed it up.
Oh,
I can't
and
believe
you're
they
like,
messed it
such
up.
is your
You
life.
don't get it yet.
No, you don't.
You
get
don't
it.
get it yet. Sometimes you walk real close to that ledge.
Mhm.
Literally and figuratively, or you get too close to the fire, whatever the expression works for you. Sometimes you do, and those are lessons.
I have a question. It just popped into my mind. And if it is something that you cannot answer or do not want to answer, it's fine. But it's probably not even what you think. Can you think of your most joyous time in your life?
Yeah, adventuring with my husband in the Grand Canyon, like yeah.
What about that in particular? Was there a thing in particular? I mean, first of all, love of life plus natural wonder of the world.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
Just
a pretty
put those
good
two things
combo.
together.
okay,
I mean,
yes,
yeah.
well, yes, those two things,
Sure.
but I don't think that's why.
Mm-mm.
There is something about, okay, natural wonder. Yeah, no, that's a big part of it. The beauty is so vast. It is awe-inspiring, and it is tears to your eyes. It's like, oh man. What?
The greatest joy, like what you said, that it was not just husband and
Yeah.
these two things
Gosh,
together.
that's a hard
but
question. There are so many different kinds of greatest joy, like
Mhm.
great joy. It was a sense of sovereignty. It was at the Grand Canyon. So we don't just go to the rim, like we go down to the bottom and we cross the corridor and we climb up out of it. I mean, we get 50, 60 miles deep into the nitty gritty down in there.
because you're also an adventurist, and you are, I would say, I don't want to say an extremist. It's not that. It's like, because you're very mindful and thoughtful about the things that you do, but also I think that you are a person who likes to definitely push their limits.
Yes, I do. I like to see what I'm capable of. I think you understand that. I like to, I also love how wild I feel. I love how small I feel and how perfectly big I feel. I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Ooh-wee. That's
When
a
I'm in
beautiful
places
thing.
like that, I feel like I just feel like, yeah, okay, I'm doing it. The other, when I said it's so hard, there's so many great. The other times I feel like that are with my Monarch caterpillars. I feel the greatest joy. I joke that they melt my butter, but they melt my butter. I just turn to gush, and it brings me so much joy because it means so much to me. I look at them and I see not only the butterfly, but I see myself, and it's so much. It's so much beauty, and even the ugliness and the despair and the grit and the trial, and it's just like, I'm watching you, man. It's so good. It's the greatest joy.
Oh, do you feel like there's a metaphor in there for anything at all? Not one thing, right? I mean, to be observed in that way, and then to know that you are loving another creature in this way, right?
Yes.
You nailed it.
Yes.
You're nailing
Yes.
it right now.
Yes. Woo-hoo! That is
Exactly.
exactly it.
Yeah.
There is someone hollering and hooting out
Yeah,
there. I
that's right.
testifying
Yeah.
with sound.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
right.
also dipping their whole body in some ice.
Okay.
That's for sure what's happening. But also, there are no coincidences.
No, there are not. There are
timing,
not.
yeah.
The
Timing is
tears
nice.
of
Divine.
right.
Yeah.
The tears of joy watching it. Like, I'm watching a caterpillar. It's crawling. It's eating. It's molding its skin. It's pupating. It's whatever. It's so beautiful. It's not. It's beautiful because it's me. I am the caterpillar, and I am the mother. And every single time I watch those transitions, I feel that, and it's on a different level. You know, every time. Whether it's, I mean, the big one. The big one is the metamorphosis that we've recently been coming into, maybe in like the last month or so. I don't know. I'm stepping in.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very powerful, coming from such a long time in my life of not feeling worthy of the space and of
Can I just say that I think that's why you have categorized, or previously categorized, your experience with the Monarchs as a dream, because you probably on some level didn't feel worthy of experiencing something like that. And now coming into the space where you are able to gain some perspective on your life and your worth and your value, that became real.
Yeah. I can accept that.
That's what they said.
I won't accept. I accept. I
That's what
accept
they had
that.
said.
I don't think I would have ever looked at it that way before. Even just putting together my thoughts for this talk today, I'm like, okay, I'm just going through them. And then as I was going, I was like, whoa, I'm like that I'm like this. This is, whoa. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole thing. More than even I thought it was. And that's part of what is so incredible about the past 9 months or so of the evolution of the Monarch Sanctuary Project is that it just started from this, like, well, it started from stopping the toxicity, the call to stirring the call to stop there. But then it started with just, okay, stop, put the pause, and then asking big questions.
Right.
Connection. Yeah, getting connected. You know, with yourself and that joy. That I feel like is what the trajectory is. It's like just like send you in a blast off.
Keep following that for sure. And then also that like hitting the pause, right? The macro mimics the micro. So what we're experiencing out there was exactly what we're experiencing internally. And people who in some way, whether or not they recognize it on a conscious level, subconsciously understand that. There are a lot of people who we've come into contact with recently who have a very deep internal understanding that that pause button was hit on us internally. And those are also the people who chose to see in that time, right? To work on what it was that they were, the task at hand themselves, to work on themselves in that way. And take the time to do that are the people who are now seem to be thriving in a way.
I agree. My pause button was actually a year before the pandemic started. I'm eternally grateful for having started that work as long ago as I did, because finding myself in the middle of the pandemic where people were forced in that moment. They hadn't necessarily chosen to press their own pause button, and they were forced into that where I had already made my choice. And so I found a lot of sense of peace because I was already like nose to the grindstone doing the work. That didn't stop for me.
Just kept going. And it felt like in that way, because I think in the same as goes for all of us, right, who have come into this space to be working together in the way that we're working together. When I'm talking about working, I'm not talking about typing on a computer. I'm talking about working. When we're working together, it's very resonant that we were all kind of on that, like, what is actually happening, Pat? Like, sometime before that button was pushed. And so then when the button was pushed out there in the world, it was like, oh, y'all go to town. It's your time to really get this stuff done. Double time it. Let's go. I'm going to show you a lot of things that you have to learn about this time and about yourself.
I agree fully, because I feel like we were already there, and then there was this change and shift in the way we can move about the cabin as a society right here and in the world. And the people who maybe weren't already on the path of questioning things and getting in touch with themselves and like researching outlets to be more connected, when they got into that spot where then they didn't have an option to, and there was only bread, but there was a bunch of other stuff over here that you could get in the grocery store. No toilet paper though. Then what happened is that rug got pulled out from underneath, and these people were then, I believe it to be a blessing that everyone was then pushed into questioning, asking at least one question. Which sent a lot of people down like a really either soulful and spiritual rabbit hole, or a like healthier lifestyle choice rabbit hole. But you're right, just had that little net right here, like, come on, y'all
Ready?
Hey, we got you. And look, it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun.
And it was. And it is. I do find it interesting how the plans change, how the questions change, how the priorities change, how you think you're moving in one direction, and then but are there so many words we can use? The universe puts up these little bumpers like, you're kind of going in the right direction, but nope, not over there, not over there. Come back over here.
Come back over here.
Love that you want to run 50 miles from the redwoods to the ocean, but maybe you are better for this project over here.
Man,
You
it's
can waste
better.
it in your backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you build a butterfly garden?
I mean, I think that speaks to something there's a very, very big piece, and a lot of that is about, we spoke about it earlier, is about coming home and like feeling at home and like nourishing your home and nourishing the space where you are and building your community, because we're gonna need it out in this moment right now. And so them saying, like she said, go. You got it in your backyard right here. Look, we don't
Right.
have to make it so hard. Also, it's enjoyable. Go run your 50 miles.
For fun.
Good luck with that.
Because people do that.
This person.
I'm shifting. I'm
I know.
shifting.
Hey,
I'm adapting.
listen,
It's
I'm
awesome.
gonna tell you, like I
I
told
mean,
you just a minute ago. You do you.
Yeah.
That ain't for me though.
Listen, I'm probably going to back out of that territory myself. So I just want to be very clear with that. I love the idea, but there is nothing wrong with asking the questions.
Can I?
Oh, should we?
What?
No,
Look
this
at
is,
it.
no. This
Okay.
is not.
I did
what
You
you're saying.
freaked me
Anything.
out.
Oh, where's
That's
this
kind
butterfly?
of- I saw that
So-
happen to you.
What you guys
40 minutes
don't
ago.
see on camera, you can see our set, you can see the things that are happening here on our table. This is just us being us. This is Sonia being Sonia here in front of us. One of the things that she has here is a T-Rex with a, please explain.
This is a monarch chrysalis that a monarch butterfly was wrapped up here in its chrysalis for 8 days, and just this morning, the morning of our We Talk, it emerged or eclosed from this casing right here.
May I handle Rex to show the people?
Yes, yes,
I
absolutely.
like doing
Oh,
this.
yeah.
And a light.
Do you see
Take
this?
a gander
Make
at
sure
that
you
guy.
get the right side. There you go. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He likes that
Oh,
side of a
And
smile.
he prefers to go by Rex. Just so you know.
Right here, so the emerged, eclosed, freshly born, birthed butterfly this morning is a female. She is right here in this case. Elizabeth, would you like to?
I almost
you
want
think we can
pull her out. Just kidding.
Yeah, don't take her out.
I'm not. I don't know if you'll be able to really.
Yeah,
really
yeah, that's okay. There is an adult female monarch butterfly in this very small
It's her little casing.
enclosure.
I was debating on the pause was I was debating on unzipping it, and I thought that would be a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh,
Probably
yeah,
not
right
the
there.
best.
And then if you angle it up, there it is.
Oh, you see her in there?
With all of this,
window.
and no, monarch conservation just went out the window. I will have all of you know that in order to celebrate this inaugural We Talk that we had today, I chose to name this butterfly Weatrice.
We're honored. Thank you. We're honored.
Yes. Thank you so
That
much.
the value
we-
of that does not get lost on us.
No, not at all.
No.
It's the
And we
perfect
may
name.
get to let her loose, right? After this?
Yes,
potentially?
yeah,
That
but let's
sounds
go
terrific.
outside, and she is already showing signs that her wings are strong enough to fly. So we will go and we'll find a nectary spot, or maybe we'll take these flowers outside and set them down and release her out, and hopefully she will shoot northward on her way to Canada, or maybe she can go east. Maybe she can go east to Florida and up the Midwest and up to Canada, depending on where she finds better nectar.
How far will
I'm
she
super
make
excited
it?
to know this.
She will make it, well, give or take, right? Between 25 and 50 miles per day. Yes, I
That's
know.
a long way.
Longest distance ever recorded was a 500-mile flight, single butterfly.
What?
I know.
Fascinating
Yeah,
to me.
it's yeah,
Was that
but
from Canada down?
it
Or
was.
okay.
It was. You know what? I bet it was a super. I bet it was
How
a
do
super.
they say what's the super? The fourth.
The super
generation,
generation is
right?
the fourth generation of monarch who are born with these super butterfly characteristics built into their DNA, where they are bigger, stronger. They can fly bigger, stronger. They've got this DNA built into them that they go into a reproductive diapause, which means they stop breeding and reproducing, and they live up to 8 or 9 months versus the 2 to 6 weeks that their first, second, and third generation predecessors lived.
I love it.
Super butterfly.
I think we're all fourth generation.
We are
super
definitely
butterflies
right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is very indicative of the work that we're doing to go back and heal a lot of our genetic and ancestral lines now, right? Feels very resonant to me.
It does.
That's really awesome.
Can we talk about the champagne? Can we?
Yeah.
Or maybe like from
Totally.
the beginning.
So let's do
Yeah.
let's do
Mhm.
this. Let's
Okay, yeah,
do
thanks,
like
'cause I think
you're
I
like
like
I
that.
want to know, and also and it was good. She's talking about a pre podcast conversation that we have, and it's kind of funny being in here before the mics are on. I'm one who understands, thank you, Mr. Bobby Bones, the value in in authentic interaction with people. So that's why this podcast will never be something that is like fabricated. It's not going to happen that way. It won't happen that way because life's not like that.
Mhm.
And this is the grounded spiritual. We're talking about how to draw the authentic spiritual points of views and ways of living and lifestyle into your life, and a lot of that has to do with authenticity. And so before we come on to we have just as a rule as this podcast that we don't talk about podcast topics until it's airtime, because the most special moments happen in the moment, right?
Yeah, and then what happens is like special moments because we all love each other deeply.
Yeah.
We're definitely sisters.
Yeah.
We found each other and it's rad.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there shooting the shit and we start talking about some stuff and we're like, wait, hold on.
No,
Wait, we shouldn't
talk about it.
nobody say anything
Let's talk about
else.
it anymore.
Wait.
Let's just wait.
That's what happened.
So I didn't want to miss out on the champagne,
Right.
but I knew if I
Thank
threw
you.
it out, we would work that.
Yeah, you're like just. By the
I'm
way.
like, just let's not forget about the champagne.
So
Do we have any
large
champagne?
I know, and I do have
Funny.
some
Right, no, that's
blueberry
fine.
booze.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I think a pretty significant part of your story when we're talking about butterfly transformation and how things go from larvae, pupa stage, caterpillar stage into this full-fledged butterfly, this moment that you're having now that will last for some time, I will have you know. When you were, just a little, is a caterpillar, like, tell me about that. Tell me a little bit, like, is a caterpillar the pupa stage?
No. Okay. Egg, caterpillar, pupa, butterfly. Egg, caterpillar. Pupa,
You did that. You did
right?
the whole thing.
It's a
before.
dance. It's a whole evolution, right? The egg hatches into the caterpillar, and then the caterpillar eats until it forms its pupa.
Mhm.
And then it is in its pupa stage, in its quiet dissolution of the self
Mhm.
for 8 to 15 days.
It's beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
So
and it's
beautiful.
beautiful. It looks like a
Outside.
jewel.
Emerald with gold.
It's a jade
around it.
jewel with gold dotted
Dots,
flecks.
like, where does that even? When you showed me that at your house,
Hey,
I
you
was
said,
like,
that's
what is that? What is no?
where did that
No.
gold come from?
And we don't understand it. It is gold.
Mystery.
Literally alchemy.
Jewel.
Yep.
It is.
Literally alchemy happening in front of you, biological alchemy. So, in your caterpillar, your late caterpillar stage, can you roll us back to what life was like and what you would categorize as your late caterpillar stage before you moved into this stage where you knew that it was like time to shut that shit down?
Because we're keeping it real.
Yeah.
Because we're keeping it real. Because there was so much shame and self-loathing and disappointment in the self, and looking in the mirror, I just saw the shell and I didn't even recognize myself. I was trying to find any way I could in my life to kill myself, essentially. I would get into my vehicle on a daily basis, tanked, and I would just drive, and I basically found any way I could to try to wreck myself and every relationship around me, and life was very bleak. I didn't respect anything about this at all.
I appreciate that you recognize the guilt and shame in that, and I can also understand how isolating that is, but the reality is that a lot of people out there live their lives that way every single day.
They do, and I did for 20 years. I made some choices that whatever in my life, and instead of processing through those choices, on my own in a healthy way that was full of love and forgiveness. I didn't have those tools in my toolbox. So instead, full caterpillar status, I went toxicity, consumption, sex, drugs, rock and roll, everything, like every toxin, everything that I could to numb, to dampen, to tampen those feelings of shame and guilt. I didn't know. I didn't even think I could get out of that. I really thought I was stuck there. And I think disappointment, like you're wasting it. I wasted it. And I guess like the tiniest little thing inside of me knew that I was capable of so much more. And I just kept getting further and further away. So I kept driving further and further. I was like, I'm already this far.
Might as well go.
Might as well
All
go.
the way in. Go
Nope.
big or go home.
That's exactly it.
Yep.
That's where I was. And I wasn't putting the brakes on at all. The shift, the great catalyst, was my husband walking out the door and saying, I cannot watch you kill yourself anymore. And what was crazy to me is that I guess that was it. Like I could fuck everything else up. I could ruin myself. I could ruin every other relationship in my life. But once I lost him, oops, I guess I went too far. And if he couldn't believe in me, it was time to make a different choice. That was my switch, my turn. But I did it for him in that moment because he couldn't leave. Like
he just couldn't leave.
But that was just that. But he did leave.
Yeah.
I mean, he left for that night,
right.
and it's important that he left for that night.
Yeah,
because he could have been easy. He could have passed another day. We could have made one more excuse. We could have played the game for one more day. But it was time to turn the page and make a different choice.
It sounds like unconditional to me.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I know so.
Yeah.
I know so. And that was the realization that I did not love myself. And I did not know what self-love even was. And I didn't even believe in it. I was actually very angry at the concept of self-love. It's like this stupid yoga hippy dippy speak that like your body is your temple. Like that's like that doesn't mean anything to me. I don't deserve that. I don't feel that.
Did you consciously know that you didn't deserve it? Or
I felt that I didn't deserve it. I didn't know that I didn't deserve it because I just felt I didn't deserve the goodness because I had made too many awful choices. I had made too many mistakes. I had broken too many things.
And it was annoying to know because the darkness feels so like it's you. You mentioned that phase where you're like, oh, this is like how I am.
This is me now.
This is what feels like there's no light at the end of a tunnel. There's no tunnel.
There's no tunnel.
I'm just here.
So
I'm just here. I'm not living for nothing.
Right. So it's like almost offensive when you're like, how do you even live in the light?
That is exactly how it felt.
Yeah. How do you even do that? That's not real.
Almost angry.
And what are you saying? You're just talking some straight up mumbo jumbo nonsense.
I know. My therapist.
Bullshit.
Yeah, no, my therapist at the time, and I'd show up wasted to my therapy sessions, expecting because I was getting through. I was just getting through the moments. The next moment, getting through until what? Until it was either no more moments or until what? In the shift, the great break, the cattle, that was the what? That was the moment. It was dark. It was dark days. My body was, I had been in so many physical accidents. I mean, like I was running into walls, driving my car and everything. I was getting hit by other cars, like outside of my vehicle. Like this is dislocated. This guy's in and out all the time still. The knees are like, it was all fractured, but not broken. You and I earlier were talking about this concept of a Japanese pottery, kintsukuroi, right? The concept of
Jamie, I love you. I have a really good friend who uses that. We talk about this often.
It's beautiful.
And it also reminds me of the cocoon, right? Same idea. And where it's placed.
The goal.
I mean, I'm just, Explain. your fractured pieces.
Fractured
with the
pieces
gold.
of kintsukuri is imagine a beautiful, glorious, cherished piece of pottery, broken. It is ruined. No, not ruined. We piece it back together and we fill the cracks with either gold, liquid gold, or liquid silver, and all of a sudden, this cracked and fractured piece of pottery is now this gorgeous new artistic creation that is more beautiful and more complex
And stronger than
and
ever.
stronger than you could have ever imagined.
The funny thing is we were talking about that over, apparently we both have a cracked cypress bowl. Like cypress wood bowl.
Interesting.
And like
of
the
all
exact
things.
same. It's the same.
Wow. The things, the synchronicities,
Yeah.
all of the things that
It's a lot
say
of
like,
fun.
hey, you guys are supposed to be together doing this thing together right now. Whatever this is.
But I wasn't broken.
Mhm.
Everything was, they were just pieces, and I still had all the pieces.
Yeah.
And those questions of how do you learn to heal? How do you learn to love yourself? How do you mend fractured relationships? How do you build trust in a life where you think the trust is gone? That's
That part.
that part.
Mm.
And that part, and I remember asking that question to some people who like you, they ask me questions and they expect very, very deep answers, and you can't phone it in. And so I've learned in the past year of my life to not phone in my answers. Life is too short to phone in our answers anymore.
Yeah. Say the thing.
Say the thing, and if it's raw and if it's gritty and it's not whatever you thought it was going to be, oh well, move on from there. Figure it out. Work that process through. One of my biggest questions initially champagne, right?
Yeah.
So the initial putting the toxins aside, the cauldron of chaos, life is right? Start over. The first thing I had to do was to put the toxins aside and clear my brain. I had to clear my brain and I had to clear my body. So I could think. So I could feel without the numb, and I could think without hiding. I mean, that's essentially what the toxins were. They were just
Hiding
I don't
and
want
numbing.
to.
Yeah.
I don't want to. And it's scary to think about big things like that when you don't know, when you don't know what your values are. You don't know I didn't know it was important to me that someone set out 100 cards in front of me and said, here's 100 values, narrow it down to 7. And I sat there for so long, and everyone finished theirs, and I started getting so angry. Like, because I was trying to pick things that I was supposed to have as values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That were not values for me. And that moment right there of deciding, you know what? Yeah, no, that's cool. Listen, and I'm not saying family is one of them, but hey, family is great, right? That's cool. That is so important. But sometimes, and they can change. The priorities in life can change. But in that time of self-healing and starting over, it was important to pick the right words to use as touchstones, as when you sit down and you're having that real talk with yourself in the mirror, and you hear yourself kind of lying, like that other voice, like just filler voice, and like, is that how you really feel? Is it really important to you?
You're like, actually, nice for what?
Yeah.
Right. And that goes hand in hand, I think, with learning to set boundaries for ourselves and with other people. As I was starting to go through some of those changes, clearing my head, establishing what was important to me, the people around me in my life weren't necessarily on the same path as I was, and they weren't used to me behaving in certain ways or speaking up for myself or saying no, or saying what you just said made me feel very uncomfortable, or so that was scary to step into that. It was also really interesting. Hello. Is watching people react to the way that you are changing in your life.
Well,
I know you feel me.
Oh, so much.
I mean, the energetic exchange that happens where you're getting something from somebody, even if it's subconscious.
But interestingly enough, also the opposite of people develop this strange resentment or like you shouldn't be responding that way. You don't usually talk to me like that.
Right.
And getting sort of upset about the changes.
Right.
It hits different.
Well,
different.
the feedback, you're not giving them what they used to get from
Right.
you. Like it was an exchange that was
Oh,
happening.
yes.
Right? The
Yes.
energetic exchange that happens. And then when you cut people off, they're like,
Yes.
Wait a second,
Exactly.
give it
Yes.
a-
Yeah.
give it a-
You're right.
that whole thing. Okay, so you got to this point where you were healing. You had an event that happened with your husband, really essentially like laying it on the line.
Mhm.
Like, I love you this much.
Yep.
I love you so much. I'm gonna leave you if you can't.
And he loves
If
it.
we
I
can't
mean,
get
he,
it together.
like, I won't even, like, the amount of love that I feel for this man,
Sure.
this human in my life. So I know that was probably the hardest decision for him in his life,
Mm-hmm.
to say those words and then to turn around and walk out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
And then in that 2 years,
6/18/19. June 18th, 19. Yeah,
Okay,
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
That's
that.
why.
Gavin's birthday.
Uh-huh. Oh!
Did
No!
you said it to me 3 different
I
times.
did.
You keep
Yeah.
bringing it up.
do.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, what is, why? I mean, I get it.
Well,
Yeah.
you
Also,
put it in
and-
your phone. didn't
Wow,
you?
that's a trip.
Yes, yes, I did. I put it in my phone. Wow.
That is a trip.
Woo!
Oh,
Thank
mhm.
you, Gavin. Gavin.
Oh man, that's incredible. So
It
that's
is.
the date.
That was the date. That was the date of the change.
Sure.
And so I went through a lot of I went into an IOP, a detox program, outpatient
Gavin is
program.
Gavin is my son, and his birthday is the same day of the situation that Sonia just explained to us. And for the past probably week or so, Sonia's been saying to me how kind of impactful it was to have Gavin invite her to his birthday and like let him know about his birthday.
It's June 18th.
But yeah,
It's June 18th.
but the connection was just made. Like, why that? In my mind, I was thinking, like I said, that like, I mean, I get it, but also there's something more to this. I can't wait to figure out what this
How
is.
funny.
That's wild.
How funny.
So you had that
6/18.
on 6/18,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, I started that program. It was an 8-week program. Terrifying because of all of the, like what people think when you go into an outpatient program. I didn't tell very many people in my life. It's not theirs to know, But what was so cool about this particular program is that it combined Eastern and Western forms of
beautiful.
Right. So all of a sudden, it's not just talking through these issues. It is acupuncture, acupressure, massage, restorative yoga, qigong, walking labyrinths, and it was philosophical, and it was perfect for me because I felt at home. This was a vocabulary that I knew. These were familiar, like Buddha, Gandhi, like they were sharing, like people whose wisdom I could relate to. It wasn't, and no judgments anywhere. But for me, the 12-step AA program at the time was it didn't register with my personal belief system. And I do want to be clear that at the time, this was about getting sober because it was about getting clean. And up until very recently, I have been sober. I stopped drinking for just under 2 years.
Great.
It is great.
Yeah, you
Such a
needed
big
that.
deal.
Talk
It
about
is
a
great.
pause button.
It is. It was the pause
Yeah.
button, and it was the clarity. I stopped smoking. I really did. And at the time, I was like, gosh, why did I ever do any of those things? Just cloud your mind. But it's
I love the emphasis you put on that because a lot of people can be condescending when they do go through a change in life that's
Yeah.
growth and
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And I think where I sit now, and it feels so good and so freeing, is that is a lot of power to give a substance. To say that this pot and this bottle of alcohol, scotch, whatever, has the power to control your life.
And more power than you have to
Right.
control your life.
Right. And, I have history in my family. And so there was like this written, it's in my,
of course it's
it's
in the
me,
blood.
it's the
Yeah.
sickness. I'm the
Right.
sickness. And I'm not making fun of that.
Right.
I'm not making fun of that. But for me personally, that didn't register. It didn't feel that way, but I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. Like I was we were all where we were supposed to be. But now what it feels like is like every herb, every tonic, every plant, every food in nature is its own kind of medicine. Yeah. And anything like that can be abused. And it part of that is the responsibility of respecting that so much that you're not going to abuse it. You respect it for what it is. You don't abuse it. And so for me, I look at, a bottle of scotch. I'm like, well, that bottle is not evil. That bottle does not control my life. What it was is have you ever heard of Rat Park?
No.
This is so cool. This concept of so there were these experiments done with rats and alcoholism, and is alcoholism just you are in it and you're drinking and your life is ruined if alcohol is in your life, versus maybe but there's nothing else in. Okay, sorry. Take a bunch of rats, 2 groups of rats. One of them has like an amusement park.
I would just like to say that I like that train that your brain was on just a second ago.
It's on the same train.
Okay.
We're
I'm
just
here for it.
Yeah, we're just like slide the door, moving into the next boxcar kind of thing. The
rats.
The rats. Okay, 2 rats. Thank you. Okay, so this rat over here, these rats, they've got a whole amusement park. They have a rat park, and they have like every ride, and life is so fun, and they can do whatever they want, and it's like rat heaven, whatever.
They got all the food, all
they
the
do.
water,
They have everything, all the stuff, and there's alcohol in there too. There's even alcohol in the rat park. Okay, and there's over here, this category of rats does not have a rat park. They have a white box, and that is it. And then there is alcohol and there's water. The rats with nothing, no form of entertainment, nothing to build the quality of their life experience, all went to the alcohol. The rats that had quality life experience did not.
Oh, it's a little like growing up in Louisiana.
And things like having your needs met too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And so I love this idea of, what if it's not just drink alcohol or not drink alcohol? Maybe that's not the problem. Maybe the problem is that my life was empty and I had nothing. And I remember Shane and I going on a walk like in the before times, and we were talking about a terrible, terrible hangover night I had made a fool of myself the night before. And he said, but there was a hungover, and we were like, what do we, Sonia, like what? Are you unhappy? What do you need to be happy? And I remember realizing I didn't have any friends. I didn't like my job. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I had no purpose. I didn't have anything in my rat park. And that was so sad to me. And that was before I even stopped drinking, because I was like, oh, I'm so sad. More, please. Right. So the concept of building my rat park and building a life that I like what it looks like, and that it is fun no matter what. Maybe not fun, right? But it's rewarding and fulfilling and rich and full of the things that the young version of myself, young Sonia, would have been real proud of. And I think it's through the finding of all of those qualities of life that all of a sudden I realized, my goodness, I just impressed myself. My goodness, I just stood up for myself. Whoa, I just went inward. Whoa, I just said no to that. And that was important to me. And that brought me a sense of, like, it was scary, but whoa, pride. Whoa, I just took pride in myself. I just took care of myself. And that felt good. And that was kind of like, okay, let's keep showing up at this table. Part of that table includes showing up at your literal table. And you are part of that rat park for me, So,
It's really great. It's really great.
So the champagne. So it's been.
I feel
it's
like
been,
that's worthy of tears. Is fine.
okay.
I'm
It
just
is.
gonna
This
go
is
ahead
so
and-
good. I
not-
mean, it's
yeah.
like. So it's been. So 6/18/19 was the last like big discussion day. 6/19/19 was the last day I drank, and 6/20/19 was the day I took it back. Fast forward almost 2 years later, about 2 months ago, my husband and I, we just kind of started like, well, what does it look like? I mean, I like champagne and I like good red wine and I like a glass of scotch. I like how they taste. I like pairing wine with food, but that's not something I was like, oh, I can't talk about that. I can't even talk about that yet. So when we just started like, well, what would it look, what kind of life situation would be worthy enough to revisit that again? Okay, well, maybe when we climb Machu Picchu and we're on a mountaintop, maybe when we're out in, when we finally get to Patagonia. And then I laughed and I was like, well, dude, if I just hiked like 60 miles and I've got a pack this big, I'm probably not even going to want to pack that. Because, like, and that's when I realized, like, I'm a different person now. I see that differently. If the weight of one glass of alcohol in my pack, I'm like, nah, I'm straight. I'm straight because the rest of life is going to be that great. Okay, but that would be a great situation. Okay, so fast forward, we're like, you know what? Let's get a bottle of champagne and let's make a steak and let's sit and some asparagus and some roasted potatoes and let's sit in the backyard in front of the pollinator garden and light a fire and have a couple glasses of champagne. This was our wedding champagne. It was very tasty. And we talked about it for 2 months. And I kind of like went back about it and I went forward and back and I kept thinking, even up till the moment where, gosh, and it was crazy. He brought home and all of a sudden there's like a bottle of champagne with a wrapper and it was all these old habits and feelings and sensations. But
I bet it
was, and I was like, should I even touch it? Should I even open it?
Like you're going to be activated by that,
right?
Like, oh, go into robot mode and
right.
have to do this whole other thing
right.
and fall back into this
exactly.
other way of being. Sure.
Right. And I thought to myself, even as the pop happened, I thought, you don't have to drink. Okay, cool. Well, we do. That's fine. And 2 glasses of wine, it's delightful. Mm-hmm. 1 glass of wine is delightful. And I realized the next day, after a little bit of for 2 glasses of wine, it was so nice. And the meal was lovely and the conversation was great. And the after party was delicious. And the bedroom was rocking. And I guess like, that's what alcohol is like. Oh, this is what people do responsibly. It's like, or like, I think it's okay. Like a little toke of weed, a little something like, and these are the appreciations in nature. This is we learn how to appreciate the finer things in life and not drown in them.
Yes, not use them to try to kill yourself. Yeah, exactly. Not drown in them.
You can dip the toes in.
Yeah. And not deny yourself of something, like an experience, but also be cognizant of the experience that you're having.
Yeah. We were talking about the feeling, okay, well, I did that, but I don't know if I should even tell anyone, especially not my friends and my family, because, oh, Sonia, and this is not what they said, because they don't know. Hi, Mom. No. Is the fear of how someone potentially will react to something like that. Oh no, you're going backwards. Oh no, you messed up. You ruined it. You broke the thing. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I broke anything. I don't feel like I ruined anything. I didn't go backwards. I, as a very healthy, balanced, happy adult, made a very adult decision, responsible decision that I don't have any regrets over, and I feel like I took back the power, and it doesn't mean anything moving forward, because it doesn't need a label. I don't need to talk about sobriety, not sobriety. Was it good? Was it bad? it just was a choice that I made that I feel proud of.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
look at you thriving.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I love
Butterfly.
it.
Came full
Yeah.
circle.
It's the
Yeah.
butterfly effect.
Thank you for sharing that, because I feel like that's a real heavy taboo for a lot of people when
Yeah,
it
it's
comes
very
to that.
true.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it just really has to do with the narratives we want to play out for ourselves, and but there's a lot invested in that, and it gets real scary to try to pivot from there.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad you did, and
Yeah.
I'm glad that, and I bet Shane's glad you had
For
that.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah, he is. We had a great time, and now we're, it's what
It is
it's
what
not
it
a thing.
is.
Yeah.
It's not a thing anymore.
What
It's
that feels
so
like.
new
Very much.
chapter,
It's lovely.
redefined,
I love it.
remarried.
I love it
Yeah.
too.
What do you
Thank
feel like? What do you feel like is next?
I want to start a nonprofit with the Monarch Sanctuary Project. I do. I feel there is so much I want to do. The first time I had the thought of starting that nonprofit, it's too much work. You have to do that. You got to do this. Now I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this.
Yeah.
These are the things I need to do. I want to start a nonprofit. I want to continue maintaining my way stations that I have recently built. And now the fun part begins. Now that I have built them, I get to enjoy them and collect the data and report the data to community science organizations. I get to talk to people in my community. I get to, now that I know it and I am internalizing, because I am more than an enthusiast, I am on my way to expert done, right?
Yeah.
Internalizing this
Yeah.
information. Now I'm finding creative ways to share this information in unique ways that not only is just talk, but I am inviting people to apply these concepts not only to monarch conservation, but to themselves and in their lives. I'm asking people to look at themselves and ask big questions of the world and of themselves, and asking ourselves, what can we do? And it might not be for monarch conservation, but I sure hope it is. But maybe your push, your passion is something different, but whatever it is, we got.
Yeah.
I'm so
do
thankful
it.
you worked through the layers and got the things, and then you're here now and
Yeah.
presenting in the way you do. It's so beautiful and awesome to be a part of.
Ugh,
And you
beautiful.
present like nobody else. There's no other Sonia
She's
out
so
here. So
great
thank
at
you
it. Yeah.
for bringing her to us every time.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Where can they find you?
On Instagram, Sonia, I am at Just Do It Sonia. The Monarch Sanctuary Project handle is at the Monarch Sanctuary Project on Instagram. On Facebook, just at the Monarch Sanctuary.
Beautiful. And also on the Spiritualish Collective, if you go to our website and then click on the link to We Talk, it'll take you immediately to Sonia's page that is there. And we're going to update that with this podcast, and then also the We Talk production that happened today, and all of the other bits and pieces that make up what it is that you're doing and bringing to the world that is so beautiful. I am very proud of you. I realized that today, in a lot of ways, it's honestly been about 9 months in the making.
It really has.
Absolutely.
Like a baby.
Yeah,
bird.
for sure, like a baby. And you had a butterfly today. We're giggling this
Stop
morning.
it out.
She texted me super early and just sent me a message on Instagram with pictures of Weatrice in closing, right? And it was so early, and just thinking about rolling back those 9 months in my brain, like as you were sending me those messages, and just thinking about how we have really we've really nurtured whatever it is that we're trying to create,
Yes.
whatever's coming through both of us, and then all four of us. We've spent so much time doing that and learning so much about each other in the process, and about the process and all the things. And so she sent me that picture this morning and I was like, I just can't right now. It was so early. I was so many feelings were coming up. I was like, I hope you feel this.
It is exactly how it read. It was like 7 something. I know it's just early. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm glad this is happening. But I was like, oh my God, this is happening. The responses. I know. Can't imagine. This is crazy. What?
It's wild out here.
And I know you when you're sleeping out. I'm like, she's asleep, but she knows.
So I know
She's
what's happening
excited.
right now. So
Yeah.
excited. I'm going to be definitely soaking that up for this podcast and many podcasts to come. I can't wait to have you on again whenever it's time for us to probably promo the remote.
I was like, I didn't know about this.
I was like,
the remote.
I know. It's coming.
To promo the retreat that you are going to be a part of with us, and creating this whole, I mean, really, honestly, some real education, emotional, spiritual education around what it is that happened today. So I look forward to that. And I also look forward to tomorrow when we're going to shoot the podcast again.
I know
and
it.
recap our entire weekend.
Me too. We did a lot. It's wild.
We did a
out
lot.
here.
It's wild out here. Oh my gosh.
I'm stoked about setting Beatrice free.
Oh, yeah!
I didn't even know it was a thing, so I'm really excited about that.
And we should wrap it up.
Oh, for sure. It's happening.
It's hard to say goodbye.
Yeah,
This was fun. This was fun.
I'm
Yeah.
so
I
glad.
liked it.
Oh, it's terrific. You'll come on.
I hope
You'll be
so.
back. Oh, thank you guys so much. If you're coming across this video and you like what it is that we have shared, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe. You know how to do it. Do I really need a reference why that is? I love my children, that's why that is. And they know how to do it. So follow if you like to follow, hit the like button if you do the things. We are the Spiritualish Collective. This is the Mindful Misfit podcast. We love you so much. Thank you so much for being with us. Oh, thank you.